All right, so coming on this segment of the Henny and Juice podcast, we're going to end it out with some NBA playoff predictions. We'll do 1 through 10 seeds, East and West. We're going to kick it off to Henny to start off the East. What you got?
Yeah, so now there's 10 seeds for each conference, and then there's a play-in like playoff system for the 7 through 10. We'll kind of go into that when we get there, but I'm going to start off with the East. We'll go 1 through 6. Number 1 seed, I have the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't expect the team to be too different from last year. I still think they're, about as good. But much like the number 2 seed I have, which is the 76ers, who are off to a really hot start, have the best record in the NBA, it's kind of a question about the playoffs for both these teams. I think they both have a chance to, make it out of the East when it's all said and done, but they do have to prove themselves. At 3 and 4, I have the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets in that order. The Nets are really the exciting team, I guess, of the NBA this season.
Absolutely.
Out of all the teams, I would say. KD, Kyrie, and then Steve Nash at coach, who we talked about earlier. But so I have them behind the Celtics. I didn't really know exactly where to put the Nets, but they certainly have a really high ceiling. So at 5 and 6, to close off this part, I have the Heat and then the Indiana Pacers. The Heat, it's another team. Didn't know exactly where to put them. I don't think they'll be at the top of the conference. Made the finals last season, and I feel like they'll kind of drop off a little bit. I still think they're a good team, have a chance to make it out of the East.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, and then 6, I have the Pacers, and then I'll hand it to you, and then we'll get into the madness of 7 through 10.
Okay, so I have the Bucks at the number 1 seed in the East. I really don't feel like people are talking about the addition of Drew Holiday enough. Drew Holiday is one bad man. Shout out another podcast here. Doubt they're ever going to see this, but All the Smokes podcast I really like to watch, and a lot of the times they ask the guests who the most underrated player in the league is. And I want to say 30 episodes in a row, they said Drew Holiday. Every single player said Drew Holiday. Nobody said anybody else. It was Drew Holiday over and over. He might be the best individual defender in the league, especially as far as guards go. I don't even know that there's anybody that's in his range right now. He is just incredible. So you add Drew Holiday to a Bucks team that was already the best defensive team in the league last year. I don't see how they're not going to be the number 1 seed. I understand thus far they're not the number 1 seed, but they care a lot about the regular season. It's very clear, and I think they're gonna. I think that they're gonna be better in the playoffs this year than they've been, but I don't see them taking their foot off the gas in the regular season at all. 2nd seed, I have the Celtics. Right now, they're definitely. I wouldn't say they're off to a slow start by any means, but I wouldn't say they're at their potential right now because Kemba is dealing with some injuries, and Kemba Walker is a huge part of that team. Kemba's just one of those guys where he's not concerned with his scoring at all. But if you need him to give you 25, he'll give you 25. When he's back there playing fully healthy, the sky's the limit for the Celtics, honestly. With the duo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I don't think anybody could have seen how good they were going to be. Specifically Jaylen Brown. They got a lot of hate for that pick.
Yeah.
Very unwarranted. He went to a kind of a smaller school. It's not a small school, but kind of a smaller one as far as basketball goes. And it's I don't know. We really, really underrated Jaylen Brown, and kind of now we're seeing how good he is. He's not quite at Tatum's level, but he's not that far off. They're an incredible duo. You add Kemba. I mean, I don't see why they're not going to be the 2nd seed in the conference. They're going to be trying in the regular season. They're not just going to be waiting out the playoffs. 3rd seed, the 76ers. The 76ers currently have a 6-2 record. They're sitting at the top of the East. It's kind of typical for Doc Rivers to take his foot off the gas towards the end of the season. Just trying to keep guys healthy, keep guys fresh. That's just kind of always been what Doc Rivers does. So I think they're going to end up finishing around the 3rd seed. They're talented enough to be the number 1 seed, though. Absolutely. This addition of Seth Curry.
He's been on fire.
He's been on fire.
Yeah.
I was so concerned about the trade for Seth Curry for Josh Richardson. I literally thought the 76ers lost that trade, and thus far it's worked out well for both teams. As expected, I wasn't saying that the 76ers were getting robbed by any means, but I didn't understand the impact Seth was going to have on the team this year. It's been extraordinary. Pacers, man. They play like a 90s brand of basketball. Even though Nate McMillan's not the coach anymore, he seems to have left the type of imprint that Mark Jackson left on the Warriors, where they just play tough.
Yeah.
They're great on defense. Malcolm Brogdon, I've never heard somebody get clowned more when he won Rookie of the Year. Just the amount of who memes that came out. It was just baffling. And how he is showing everybody how good he is. He is great on both sides of the floor. He can be a triple-double guy when needed. Sabonis is a killer. This man has got some footwork. Like, let me tell you about it. This man got some footwork. He's doing things to people that should be getting him texts. So good. Victor Oladipo didn't have a season he wanted to have last year. He's been kind of riddled by injuries. There was some turmoil. He wanted to get out of Indiana. Indiana said, you're not going nowhere. And I'm putting together a good season, and that's why I have him at the 4th seed. I don't think there's... They seem like one of those teams that's going to be a lot more concerned about the playoffs, although I think their talent is going to make them good enough to be a top seed in the East. I have the Hawks at the 5th seed. This might come as a surprise to some people, but I think when Rajon Rondo gets back in there and is running the bench, I don't... Like, that bench is going to work well. It is just going to. If you have Rajon Rondo running your offense, you're going to you're at least going to be consistent. 100%. He's already got to be helping Trae Young so much, even if he's not on the floor. Rondo he's one of my favorite players ever. I love Rajon Rondo. He's such a good passer. The mentality he brings to the floor, he's just incredible. So that's why I have the Hawks at the 5th seed. And then coming to the 6th... actually, I think I had that messed up. No, at the 6th seed, I have the Nets. I know it's kind of bold to say the Nets are going to, kind of barely make it in. But right now, they're 4-4. KD is going to be out for some games. I think they're going to have, the 2011 Miami Heat syndrome, where, they're going to lose some games. They're going to lose some games they're not supposed to lose. But I think they're gonna figure it out. Come playoff time, they're gonna figure it out. KD and Kyrie are too talented not to figure it out. I think there's gonna be some bumps in the road. They're both ISO players. Although KD always talks about how he likes to get his buckets in the flow of the game. So it's he's an ISO player, but he's not just taking the ball randomly and just putting up shots. It's always in the flow. Kyrie, I can't say the same. I mean, you saw where the Celtics were with him and what they are without him. Kyrie's definitely not one of my favorite players in the league, but he's extremely talented, and I mean, they're going to be in the playoffs. I see them being a little bit of a lower seed and almost a disappointment as far as the regular season goes, but that does not mean I think they're going to be out in the first round or anything like that.
Yeah. All right, so then when we get to 7 through 10, it's no longer 1 through 8. There's a play-in, and essentially it works like the 7 and 8 seed, they play each other, and then the loser of that plays the winner of a game between the 9 and 10th seed. And I believe those two teams are the 7th and end up being the 7th and 8th seed. So the winner of the 7-8 game and then the winner of basically the bottom 3 teams. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a mess around 7 through 10, I would say, for the East. Just it's kind of almost like the NFC this season in football. It's just not a conference that's strong enough to support this many playoff teams. It feels
Absolutely
like right now.
Not.
So at 7, I feel like I actually have a good team here. The Atlanta Hawks. You had them at 5, I believe. Yep. So I have them a couple spots lower. But then after that, I feel like there's a pretty significant drop off. It's funny because there's a cutoff after 6 in the actual playoff seeding, but I feel like the real cutoff comes at 7. At least with the way I have it ordered. I feel like the Hawks will end up being one of the top 8 seeds and make it through that play-in if they end up in the bottom 4. And then the 3 I have after that, making up the 8, 9, 10, are the Bulls, Raptors, and Wizards. The Wizards are off to a pretty rocky start. They beat my Timberwolves without Westbrook. I don't know how that happened, but I don't know. I don't see many teams sneaking up on them and being able to grab those 9 and 10 seed. I think the Wizards are better than the bottom feeders of the East, certainly. So, yeah, but it'll be interesting to see how the play-in, no matter what teams end up as those 7, 8, 9, and 10, plays out, especially in the East. So,
okay, so what I know at this point is the the Cavaliers and the Knicks, like, they're both in the top. They're both top 6 seeds right now. Mm-hmm. I don't trust them, as I'm sure none of you do. Like, the Cavs. I mean, the Cavs have always been bad, but it's not like the Knicks situation. So, like, the Cavs, they could end up being a good team. Like, I'm not trying to shit on them or anything. But the Knicks, like, James Dolan being the owner, like, I think what they're doing right now is they're trying to just put Julius Randle in the forefront, and I think they're going to try to get, like, some good picks for him. I don't think they're going to end up actually keeping him, so I don't know. I don't see the Knicks making the playoffs. I don't see the Cavaliers making the playoffs. So just a little disclaimer there, because they're, like, in the top, but I kind of just have them honestly having a pretty bad rest of the season, but we'll see. I have the Heat as a 7 seed, and it kind of hurt to put them as low as they are. It's just the teams above them, like, I couldn't justify having them above. So the Heat were in the finals last year. But the really weird thing about the Heat is, like, the team is not... They're a really good team. They play really well together. But individual talent-wise, it's nothing crazy. Mm-hmm. I think they got a really, really good opportunity with the bubble.
Yeah.
And I think it was just, like, the type of situation where the team that had the mental fortitude to make it was going to make it.
Yeah.
They had a really nice matchup that they got to play the Bucks in the second round. Like, I have my criticism with Giannis. I'm not going to get into that, but they were able to really slow Giannis down. He had some big games, especially when he got hurt in the last one, when it looked like the Bucks might actually have a chance to come back. So that I kind of really felt bad, but they kind of just made the most of their opportunities, and I see that kind of happening. I'm definitely not making the finals, but I mean, when they're in that 7-8 game with I have the Magic at the 8.
Yeah.
The Heat are gonna be in it. Like, I don't see how they're not going to. Tyler Hero, Bam, Jimmy, Dragic, like, it's a very good team. It's just not better than, like, the Nets or, to me, even the Hawks. I just don't think they have the star power of Trae Young on that team.
Yeah.
The Magic are funny because I kind of just wrote off the Knicks and the Cavs. But I didn't write off the Magic. The Magic they're playing so good right now. Markelle Fultz, oh my God, did I just go in on Markelle Fultz those first couple of years? I
mean, everybody was, honestly.
Oh man, it was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Where it was like the reports were coming out.
I don't know how he recovered from it. Honestly, it's yeah.
I can't believe he kept getting opportunities.
Yeah,
because they kept, like, he literally forgot how to shoot the basketball. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
He forgot how to shoot the basketball. Like, you could see it in the games, too. Like, it wasn't just speculation. His jump shot had completely changed. And calling that a jump shot is kind of generous. So, I have the Magic in. I think they have a good enough record right now where if they can just play some solid basketball the rest of the way out, they can be in those play-in games. I don't necessarily have 8, 9, or 10 set in stone. I feel very confident with the top 7. The Bulls coming in at the 9th seed. It's just Zach LaVine's time. It is just... He is so good. He is so good. People just don't get it. Like, everybody just thinks of him as the dunk contest champion, but this guy is a bucket. He plays really good defense, too. He can facilitate the ball. He's not selfish. He's just, like, the type of star you want on your team. He's quiet. He's just a grinder. Like, Zach LaVine is awesome. Lauri Markkanen, I mean, everybody knows how good he is. He is just so fundamentally sound. He can shoot, score from all 3 levels. It's everything you want in a big man in today's game. Outside of maybe, like, some defensive lapses, which, I mean, nobody plays defense anymore. It kind of just is what it is. Like, it's not a major focus anymore. He's a great player. The Wizards I have coming in at the 10th seed, which is kind of crazy because if I would have done this game 0, like, we've only seen preseason games, I might have had him at 5.
Yeah.
I'd have had him at 5 or 6. I mean, you kind of just...
I mean, certainly higher than 10.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. Like, that's a duo in the East where you're just expecting playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, 100%. But they're doing so bad right now. Russell Westbrook's production. Like, Russell Westbrook already had issues with his field goal percentage. But this season, his field goal percentage from 2-point range is just abysmal. Like, even 2-point range, but he's just getting up enough shots where he can still get his buckets. He's still rebounding well. He's still assisting well. He still brings that energy to the floor every night that's just contagious. So you can give him that. I don't see how they don't at least make the play-in games. Like, I had trouble. Like, I was gonna put the Raptors in, but I just decided not to. I really didn't understand what happened last year, how they were as good as they were. I really didn't, and I don't see them recovering this season to a point where they're going to be even in the play-in games. I could obviously be completely wrong, and they could swap out the Magic, Bulls, even the Wizards, but
Yeah.
that's my 10 in the East, and I'd say I'm pretty confident, at least with the 10 teams I have.
Yeah, it definitely seems like there's like tier breaks in the East. Like there's a clear like, especially like where we kind of ended up at, like like 1 through 7. You can arrange it in like however you want, but then after that it gets pretty shaky. And I think we have almost all the same teams. You have the Magic in, I have the Raptors in. Yep. But yeah, honestly, what I see with the East is it feels like a lot of teams with a lot to prove. I know every team thinks they have a lot to prove, but like genuinely in the East, it does feel that way. Okay, so we're gonna move to the West, and I'll kick it off again. Go 1 through 6. Number 1, I have the Lakers, and number 2, I have the Clippers. This shouldn't really surprise anybody. I wouldn't imagine. Lakers would be my pick to win it all right now. I'm sure they're most people's picks. And then the Clippers, I mean, we missed out on the Lakers-Clippers Western Conference Finals. And you know, I don't know if those two teams are going to end up 1 and 2. But I really hope we get a Western Conference Finals with both LA teams.
Me too.
I think everybody's kind of hoping for that. Like, there's some other fun teams in the West. But, you know, a lot of people want to see LeBron. Everybody wants to see the Lakers. And then the Clippers, we want to find out if they're for real or not. So, especially with the way they went out last season. So, 3 and 4, I got the Nuggets and the Suns. Now, the Nuggets are just like very consistent at this point. They kind of had a slow start in their first like handful of games or something, but now they're kind of back on track. And then the Suns are just like a really exciting team, I would say, like on the rise. Of course, they had that monster performance in the bubble last season. And then
still didn't make it. Though.
Yeah, still didn't make it. But now they got Chris Paul and then, you know, Devin Booker. I mean, Devin Booker is like insanely good, and I think everybody realizes it, and they just kind of want to see him in the playoffs, like for once, so they like get a chance to actually watch him. And then I think I had Monty Williams as my coach of the year, so that I think that would make sense if the Suns do end up around 4 or 5. That would kind of be the path I was explaining for Monty Williams to win coach of the year. So 5 and 6, I have the Utah Jazz and the Trailblazers. Trailblazers, it's always tough to like. I always have trouble like figuring out where to put them near the beginning of the season because they always seem to like make noise in the playoffs, especially Dame and stuff. And Dame could do. I feel like he's like a legit MVP candidate, as we kind of mentioned earlier.
Absolutely.
And so, but I have them just sneaking into like the top 6, and then the Jazz. It's another team. It's like very consistent, but never really. It seems like they disappoint a lot in the playoffs. So. 2 pretty different teams there. The Trailblazers are really exciting, but unfortunately, I just don't think the Trailblazers, as they're currently constructed, like can really compete in the West, like be a legit contender to make the finals. That's at least the way I see it. So I'll hand it off to you. That's my 1 through 6.
Okay, so I'd say we have some pretty similar thoughts on the way kind of things are going to shake out in the West. Couple bottom half were a little bit different, but. I think the Clippers are going to win the West, and my reasoning for that is I just think the Clippers, they have to be pissed off.
Yeah.
If they're not, that's a problem.
Yeah. Then they're definitely not for real.
Yeah. Like, it's Paul George and Kawhi, they have to prove it. Like, they just have to prove that, like, last season just things went wrong. Like, that it wasn't indicative of who they are as a team. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody thought it was going to be Lakers-Clippers. Like, every single person thought that.
A lot of people had Clippers over the Lakers, too.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
Yeah.
The sad part, though, is, like, the Lakers did improve a lot more. Mm-hmm. And I do have the Lakers in my second seed. I think the Lakers are just so talented that they're just going to win games. But I don't think they care about the seeding in any way, shape, or form. Like, I think they could end up as the 5th seed, and LeBron would not care. Like, it's just not an issue. In Cleveland, it was never an issue. I don't see why it's a problem now. They won the title last year. They don't have anything to prove as far as the regular season goes.
Yeah.
I don't think they're chasing awards at all. I think they're just chasing finals victories. I have the Nuggets at 3, so same there. Oh, my gosh, Nikola Jokic. Dude, if you guys haven't been watching Nuggets games, you need to watch you some Nuggets games, all right? And you need to see what this dude brings to the table. They run like a Warriors style offense. It's very different. It's very different. The Nuggets run a lot of DHOs. The Warriors run a lot of screen aways, so Steph can run up, get the pass. With the Nuggets, it's a lot of Jokic goes into the post, and then he hits Murray, he hits Harris. That's kind of the way they usually work it off. Jokic is like averaging double-digit assists right now. And it's not even like, it's on like 10.6. He's averaging like 13 or something.
Yeah. You think he has any shot at MVP?
He's got a shot.
Yeah.
He's definitely got a shot. He had an 18 assist game this season. 18 assists. That doesn't even make any sense. He's got a shot, especially if they end up the 3rd seed and he just is playing the way he's playing. Like, he also lost some weight, which you can kind of just tell. Like, he's not as winded late. Like, they always kind of, I don't want to necessarily say he had a minutes restriction, kind of like Giannis did, but they were always wary of the minutes they were giving him, just to kind of save him late. But now it kind of seems like in a close game, they can kind of just leave him in there. They don't have to worry about at the 10-minute mark of the 4th quarter taking him out so they can put him back with 5 minutes left just to get him that rest. It's kind of like he can play. Losing the weight's helped his conditioning a lot. At the 4 seed, I have the Suns, both also the same.
Yeah.
Monty Williams is a great coach. I mean, he had a bad luck of the draw when he was like coaching the Hornets a while ago. I think one problem he had is he was a little bit stuck in his ways. Kind of great coaches. What great coaches do is they don't put the players in a system; they build the system around the players. Mm-hmm. And I think Monty Williams didn't really realize that his first go around. He's always been a great guy. He's always had a great basketball IQ, but I think he was trying to fit players in a system that didn't work for those players. And I think with the Suns, and especially Chris Paul being as old as he is, like they're going to kind of play basketball the way it fits. And Monty Williams is just going to be like Chris Paul's almost going to be the coach on the court, but I'm not taking anything away from Monty Williams.
Yeah.
It seems like Monty was going to be able to take a little bit of a step back, and he's just going to be able to be like a great motivator, a great teacher, and then draw up like great out of balance plays, stuff like that. 5th seed, I have the Mavs. All right, this one's tough. The Mavericks are a hard team to read because even last year they were the 8th seed, and they got Josh Richardson, but they lost Seth Curry. So I don't know that they necessarily improved or like lost talent, so it's kind of, you just gotta hope Porzingis is gonna be able to stay healthy. Yeah, and you gotta be able to hope Luka is going to be able to stay healthy, and Luka's gonna have to play at a crazy level offensively for them to end up at this 5 seed. But I believe he will.
Yeah, I think they can expect that of him.
Yeah, I believe so, and I don't see any reason the Mavs aren't going to be able to be competing, just like competing for the West. Like, I think there's so many teams right now. Like, there's even teams that I have in the play-ins that I think could win it. Like, it's kind of crazy. So at the 6th seed, I have the Warriors making it in, so they don't have to do any playing games. Steph Curry, man, to me, he's one of the 15 best players of all time. It's kind of a hot take, but I genuinely feel that way. I genuinely feel that you can put almost any players around him. As long as they're willing to work hard and run the floor, they can be successful. Especially having Draymond there. Draymond, you guys, people hate on Draymond so much. People hate on Draymond, and I get it. He's been a dirty player at times. He can be kind of annoying at times. Like, every time he commits a foul. Yeah. Every time he commits a foul, like, he's crying about it, even when it was clearly a foul. So that's just kind of the player Draymond is. But if you set that aside and you just watch the player, right? He is so talented. He is so smart. I was watching, it was a crazy, crazy fast break play, right? So it was a 3-3 fast break. Draymond was dribbling down the floor. And Steph just veers off to the side, right? And he gets one guy to guard him, but then he gets the other guy in the post attention. So Draymond is dribbling down. He moves left and then does a pass like this. Bounce pass, perfect guy, easy layup, wide open. This is the type of player he is. He's able to get everybody he passes to a great shot. And even if he doesn't, he's going to pass to that guy so he can pass to a person for a great shot. That's kind of the way the Warriors work. That's why I love watching them so much. There's like a picture, and obviously Clay's not on the team, but it's one of my favorite pictures ever. And they're both wide open for three, and they're pointing at each other.
Yeah.
That is the Warriors in a nutshell. Right there. And that's why I love them so much. And even with the lack of talent that they have this season, I just think Steph is so good and that system is so good that they're going to be able to end up being the 6th seed.
Yeah. All right. So now the play-in teams, 7 through 10. So I got the Mavericks at 7, and I have them at 7, but I feel like they're a team that could, if any one of these 1 through 6 teams like falter in any way, that the Mavericks will be there to not have to be in the play-in. I think they'll certainly make the playoffs, and I think they could end up, if Portland kind of drops off a little bit, or if Phoenix isn't as good as we're expecting, I think the Mavericks could very well end up 5, 6 seed. And then at 8, I have the Rockets, who, I don't know, they're kind of a mess with the whole James Harden situation.
Absolutely.
I don't know if there's been too many updates on it lately, but it still seems like he's kind of on the way out, one way or another.
1 foot on the floor, 1 foot on the airplane.
Yeah, and then I have Joe's number 6 team, the Warriors, at 9. I'm just not as confident in them, but Steph, he hurt all the haters. I don't think I was that outspoken of a hater, but apparently, he just kind of took it all in and dropped the 62-point game. And it's I don't know. It's hard to bet against the Warriors 2 seasons in a row now, especially with Steph back, and I assume he'll be incredible. So, and then for the number 10 and final seed, I have the Pelicans, who again are a fun team. I think everybody kind of wants them to be in the playoffs, but I don't know if they have it all together at this moment. And so if it shakes out the way I have it, 7, 8, 9, and 10, it would be the Warriors and the Pelicans playing as the 9 and 10 matchup, the Mavericks and the Rockets playing as the 7, 8, and so 2 of those teams would end up getting the playoff spot. So, yeah, that's how I have it.
All right, so I have the Pelicans at the 7 seed. I think the addition of Stan Van Gundy is extremely underrated. The defensive culture he's going to bring to the team and the attention to detail that he's going to give all these young guys, it's so important. The attention to detail, learning how to be a pro. There's so much more to it than just being good at the game. You have to be smart on the floor. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know your assignments. You have to know the little things that these guys that have been in the league for 10 years are going to try to do to you. And that's the reason young teams typically struggle. So that's why I really like the addition of Stan Van Gundy. They have a great vet in J.J. Redick. Lonzo Ball is one of my favorite players in the league. Mm-hmm. And I think Lonzo's going to be able to finally make that jump that so many loyal fans like me have just been praying for him to make. I think he's going to do it this season. He's shooting so confidently. I'm not exactly sure what the percentages are, but it just seemed like even when he go to shoot a layup, little floater, there was no confidence. And that's I was saying it earlier. That's what shooting is. It's confidence. That's all. I mean, obviously you got to have good form. Got to be consistent with how you shoot the ball. But confidence is everything. You have to believe that every shot you take is going to go in. And I think that Lonzo is finally there. And I think that's going to take him to new heights. And I think when he's able to put up 15, 16 a game, that's going to open up the floor for everybody else. Mm-hmm. When you have to actually guard Lonzo at the three-point line when he dribbles up every time, and you have to suck these guys up, there's going to be just so many backdoor opportunities for Ingram and Zion. I just see there's just so much talent on this team that I think that they're going to be able to put it all together. They're doing really good right now. They're in. They wouldn't be in a play-in if the playoffs started today, but obviously we're 7, 8 games in. So I'm high on the Pelicans. They could even swap the Mavs almost to where they could be the 5th, or Warriors could be 5th, and Mavs could be in the play-in. I'm that confident in the Pelicans.
Dang.
I have the Jazz at the 8th seed. This is one I struggle with because the Jazz have always been a really hard team for me to read, just in general. I don't understand. I consider myself pretty a high IQ basketball fan. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why the Jazz are as good as they are.
Yeah.
I really don't. Like, I understand Mike Conley, Mitchell, Gobert, Joe Ingles. Like, they're good. Like, they just play so well together, and I think the chemistry is so good between those guys.
Yeah.
That they're able to make it work. They play, and Rudy Gobert is just like one of the best rim protectors in the league, one of the best defensive players.
Just got a big extension, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So the Jazz are going to at least be in those top 10 seeds, and they could make me look like an idiot, and they could be like the 4th seed, and it would not shock me at all. Like, you have them at the 5th seed, correct?
Yeah, I have them at 5.
Yeah. So I have the Blazers at the 9 seed. I'm just always so low on the Blazers, and I really don't understand why. Coming into every season, I'm just like low on them. This season, it was even harder, but there's just so much talent in the West. I mean, I know it's every year people are talking about it, but like, I mean, it was even hard to like leave off the Kings. The Kings are playing great basketball right now.
Yeah.
And I don't even have them in. Like, the West is so good. So the Blazers being at 9, like, I don't think that's necessarily disrespectful. I can understand it though, but the problem is defensively, it's just not there. Like, it's never been a point of emphasis for Dame or CJ. Like, that was why when it was basically Dame and CJ versus Steph and Clay in the Western Conference Finals, they couldn't. They really didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
They got swept. It's kind of crazy, but it's because even though Steph doesn't necessarily play defense, he's a great zone defender.
Mm-hmm.
He's great at being at the right spots. He's not a good individual defender. Clay is just.
Oh,
I mean, everybody knows about Clay.
Yeah.
Clay is like maybe right behind Drew Holiday as far as individual guards go defensively. The Blazers with Melo coming off the bench. They're playing through Melo off the bench. Like, that's crazy to even think about. It really is. Like, they're a good team. They're a good team, and I'm not trying to disrespect them at all, having them at the 9th seed. I just think the talent ahead of them, there's better defenders. I just think the star power of Luka and Steph outweighs what the Blazers have to offer. At the 10 seed, I have the Rockets. I don't know what's going on with them right now. Like, there's so much talent on that team with John Wall, James Harden, Boogie, Christian Wood. The boy. And it just seems like James Harden is just putting so much turmoil into that locker room. Yeah. And just being so toxic to that team that it's overcoming them. I mean, the Rockets could end up just going on a run for the rest of the season, though.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know. I think with James Harden just being in the situation he is right now, I don't think the guys are like rallying around him. And I think when you have a team that's just really, really egocentric, it's just not going to work. But, I mean, you get them in the 10th seed, they're in it.
Yeah.
They're in it to make the playoffs. And with all that talent, they could pull it together. But, yeah, I don't know. When you have a team with that much turmoil and you're going against all the other teams in the West that don't have that turmoil, I don't see how the Rockets are going to be able to overcome that and, like, just come together as a team and bring all that talent in together and make it work. I think Silas is a good coach. I think he's going to be good for them. I think he's going to make them a little more disciplined, especially on the defensive end. Even though they played great defense last year, which nobody ever wants to talk about. Yeah, that's my 10 seeds in the West.
All right. Yeah, so I would say, just to wrap it up, the two conferences are like tricky to predict, but for different reasons. Kind of like the West is just loaded with talent. There's a lot of movement that's possible just because some teams are loaded with talent, like the Rockets loaded with talent, but you don't know if James Harden's even going to be there. You don't know if they can put it all together. And then there's some teams that, like, we just don't know. Like the Suns, we don't know. The Blazers will like be in it, but it's hard to predict the seeds. And then the East is just kind of its own little mess, like at the bottom. And then a lot of teams that are like pretty talented, but they kind of have to prove they can compete with, like, if they face the Lakers in the finals.
Absolutely.
So.
All right, so we're gonna wrap up the show. Like, anybody that tuned in, anybody that watched, like, any amount of time, I just want to say we really, really appreciate it so much. We had a radio show that we did at WSU, and I ended up having to drop out, so we didn't end up being able to continue it. We're finally kind of getting it going again, and it was like I don't know about you, but it was like I woke up today with just like a different kind of feeling. Like we were gonna like start something up again, and it was like it's very important and it's like very special to both of us. And kind of the way the show is gonna work is we're gonna try to get a podcast out every single week for you guys. No exact dates yet because it's kind of just gonna be when we get the editing done, but we're always gonna try to have it done within a couple days after we record it. So we don't want anything to be like too distant, like any news or anything we talk about to be like weeks apart, you know. Throughout the week, we're gonna try to release clips. So any big news that comes out, any players have a big game, we're gonna try to get together on a video chat and try to just get some content out for you guys. And then we're gonna try to break up these videos, so maybe you don't have the time to watch for an hour and a half. We're gonna just try to break it up. Yeah. You know, make it a little easier to digest for you guys. And yeah, thank you guys for watching the Henny and Juice podcast.
Yeah.
Have a good one, guys.
Until next time.
Thank you so much.